24 secrets in every Pokemon game. Now, I've been around Pokemon for a hot minute. I'm actually older than the franchise itself by a few months. Let's see how many of these I know and how many of these I don't know and how these are presented to us.
Did you know that in the Generation 1 Pokemon games, if you go into a gym, face one of these statues,
Yes, they are coded as water tiles from my understanding. You can fish in them.
then pull out your fishing rod, it will actually let you fish? This is from an oversight with the tile that the statue is placed on. But did you know that you could also use cut to cut grass in Generation 1?
Yes, you did. This was actually Fire Red Leaf Green as well. I actually love that this was an overworld usage of cut.
This appears in some future generations as well, but whenever I mention this in a video, people in the comments always say they have no idea that you could do this. Now, while you could spend your time cutting grass in Generation 2 as well, you could also go to the Safari Zone. Well, actually, you can't, but there does exist a map in the game files for Gold and Silver suggesting that a Safari Zone was at least planned, but
I vaguely remember this. I think the files exist, but obviously you can't access it. And now in modern iterations of Pokemon, ever since what? Gen 5 onwards, we really don't have a Safari Zone in any capacity.
never actually implemented. Another secret in the Gen 2 games that you can do
We had Friend Safari in Gen 6. I guess I should modify that statement.
pretty easily while playing through the game normally is turn off the surveillance cameras in the Team Rocket headquarters under the sketchy shop in Mahogany Town. All you have to do is walk up to the scientist, defeat him in battle, then go to his computer and turn off the cameras.
I actually don't think I knew that, actually. Hold up. See, here's why I like watching videos like these, is that while I may be an encyclopedia at times of Pokemon, where I can, discuss things I've seen not only in Indigo League, but played the games throughout the years, VGC, comment on, like Wolf Glick's 2016 team, stuff like that, there are things to this day that I am still learning. And these videos, the fact that they bring them up, I mean, we all know about Mirage Island. We all know about the Gen 3 events, right? Not Eon Ticket, that's the wrong one. But to get to Naval Isle and Birth Isle, right? Naval Rock, Birth Isle, right? Deoxys, Lugia, Ho-Oh, respectively, right? We know secrets like that, even the Arceus events and stuff like that were cut from Diamond and Pearl base. But when you have something like this and you're just like, I absolutely love this. This is so perfect.
This will allow you to go through the rest of the headquarters without those annoying cameras seeing you and sending Team Rocket grunts after you to battle. As for Generation 3, Pokemon Ruby and Pokemon Sapphire introduced a new move in Icicle Spear. There's just one problem though. No Pokemon in Ruby and Sapphire can actually learn Icicle Spear, and you
Okay, yeah, I'm like, wait, was it really Gen 3? The Icicle Spear was like 5. But okay, it was introduced in Gen 3, but nobody learned it. That's super fascinating.
can't even obtain the TM for it. Despite this, there is still an animation for the move in Ruby and Sapphire, which you can only obtain legitimately if you trade over a Pokemon from Fire Red or Leaf Green, which released about a year and a half later, as in that game, Pokemon can learn Icicle Spear. Another unused secret element in Ruby and Sapphire is this. Unused sprites for your character doing...
I do remember the unused bike animations. These are actually kind of cool to look at because there's a lot of unused sprites across all of the games. It's super cool.
a wheelie off the front wheels of your bike. I don't know why you would ever need to do a wheelie off the front of your bike when you can
Don't worry about it. If your character wants to do a wheelie on the front of your bike, don't worry about it.
do them on your back wheels as well, but it was at least planned sometime in development. For something you can actually access in the game though, there's the Scorched Slab. It's a cave on Route 120 that serves no
I actually vaguely remember this. Didn't this get in Oraz Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire? Wasn't this a location for some legendary Pokemon? I vaguely remember this now. Vaguely remember.
important purpose despite having a unique name. You can get the TM for Sunny Day here, and it's said that this cave is modeled after Ama no Iwado, a mythological Japanese cave where the sun goddess Amaterasu shut herself in. This could just be a fun Easter egg, but given the specific history, it makes me wonder if more was ever planned for the Scorched Slab. It did plan
Yeah, no, I vaguely remember the Sunny Day now, and I'm like, this is a named cave, but nothing ever came from it. There's so many cool things. Like in Fire Red Leaf Green alone, there's how much cut content in regards to e-reader events from Battle Tower, one of the Sevi Isles where there's the boxes in front of the door. there, and that's just Gen 3 alone. I mean, Gen 4 we had the was it Azure Flute? I'm having trouble remembering Arceus's item, but Arceus's item that was completely just not even brought over for Diamond and Pearl. Not until what, Platinum, I think it was actually finally brought over. It's wild to consider how much cut content is in Pokemon games.
Ahead a bit in Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, however, as we move on to the 4th generation of Pokemon, with this gift Tentacool you could get. A gift Tentacool doesn't sound all that interesting since Tentacool can be found pretty much everywhere in the Johto region's water.
So the thing with gift Pokemon is depending on the move they get, they've seen even competitive success. There was, God, was this Gen 7? I think it was Gen 7 where you had Pokemon with, I think it was the move Z Celebrate. Yeah, it was Z Celebrate was also there. We had Z Celebrate do things, but we also, I think, had Celebrate Stall or something like that, where the animation for, I think it was Celebrates, but yeah, it was Celebrate. And the animation for it, when done enough times, would just run out the clock. So, event Pokemon can be kind of nutty.
But this specific Tentacool wasn't even known to exist when the game first came out.
I'm sorry, what?
In order to get this Tentacool, you have to be in Cianwood City and have no Pokemon with the moves Fly or Surf.
Oh, right. I remember this. This is to actually prevent you soft-locking yourself. So, there's soft-lock picking is entirely a thing, and a channel that does it, PaPaSea, I believe, is one person that does it. There are ways to effectively brick your save file. So something that you could do in the earlier games, so Gold, Silver, Crystal, if you got to Cianwood, you could release your Pokemon and be stuck on the island. So this is a built-in safety measure, so that way you can get this Tentacool and you can still, you know, actually surf off the island and stuff. It's actually super cool to see that they thought about these things going forward.
And no Pokemon that can learn them. If you talk to this person in the Pokemon Center, they will then give you a level 15 Tentacool, so you can then use Surf to get out of the town, as otherwise you would be soft-locked here with no way to leave.
Yeah.
An even cooler part about this Tentacool is you could soft reset for it to find a shiny. As for Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, did you know that these were bike racks, and you could interact with them to get on or off?
I actually did know this. Like, offhand, I had to think about it. But I'm like, oh, yeah, they're just bike racks. Yeah, they were specific not tile, like it's tiles. They were, you could interact with them and get off and on your bike. It was super cool. Like, it was one of those kind of, like, scratch your head kind of things. Like, I guess that's a thing. But, like, yeah.
Off your bike. It doesn't serve too much of a purpose, since you could just register your bike so you can ride it by just pressing select, but it's a...
Right, you just register it to a button, register it to as a key item. But you did have these. It's cool that they existed.
Cool little feature nonetheless. There's even a few secret wallpapers like this Team Galactic wallpaper for your PC that you can unlock with a special phrase depending on what your trainer's ID number is.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Back in my day, we had to unlock mystery gifts. My Sonny, you had to go to a specific building. Well, it was actually the Pokemon Mart back then. You had to go into that Pokemon Mart, and you had to go fill out a questionnaire on the counter. See, back in my day, you didn't actually start with these options. You didn't start with this stuff. I can say that because I've played this series for just an ungodly amount of time. For those of you that don't know, Gen 3 specifically, I think it was upwards of clearly Gen 4, maybe Gen 5. I'd have to actually research when they stopped, discontinued this. But in the Pokemon Mart, there was a clipboard, and you had to, there was a, like Fire Red, Leaf Green, right? To unlock, I believe it was one of the multiplayer features, you had to put in 4 phrases, and, you know, phrases could be anything like objects, Pokemon, places, things. And so you had the famous link together with all. And that unlocked a feature for you. And it was such a cool concept because, like, think about this, like, on the playground, right? You're just like, well, how do you have this mystery gift thing? What is this mystery gift thing? And it's like, well, you see, if you go to the Pokemon, it's straight up, like, right out of, like, Mew is under the truck kind of thing. Like Peekaboo, like early playground rumor kind of things, but this has validity, and this was how you unlock features. I thought this was a super cool way of unlocking features. It was so awesome. And it's something that's just missing in the modern day, which I don't think a lot of newer players, I don't think a lot of modern players really would do it. I come from an era, really, I just come from a different era in a lot of things. I guess I have to understand that. It's so cool to see that, though. And I love when people bring this up, because I'm like, I lived that.
If you talk to this person in the Poketch building and say the correct phrases. Also in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, on certain days of the year, you could see what looks like snow falling from...
Yes, it was the Stardust snow or the Crystal snow or whatever, and this is to commemorate special events. I believe, like the creator of Pokemon's birthday or something.
The sky. It's called Diamond Dust, and it only appears on certain days like Junichi Masuda's birthday on January 12th, Pokemon Day on February 27th, and April 22nd, which is the day Diamond and Pearl released in North America and is also Earth Day. And I just checked my schedule, and it's also supposed to be the day this video goes up.
Nice. So here's the thing, is like, I miss events like this. I mean, yeah, obviously to this day, we still get, the Pokemon Center lady who will say happy birthday to you, which is like endearing in itself. And we just don't see a whole lot of this anymore. I came from an era, you have to understand, that I was researching Gen 3 going into Gen 4. I remember sitting on Cerebi.net, and I remember when the rules, quote unquote, for transferring from Gen 3 to Gen 4 were out, when Pokemon on the DS was, getting information publicly available, right? It was having public information become more and more available, and doing research on old anime episodes and old move sets and theory crafting stuff. I came from an era where, Bulbapedia did exist. I just grew up on Cerebi, let's put it that way. And so this entire thing is really just hitting a really cool nostalgia chord with me, because I lived a lot of this. And you also got to see events like this that happened. Most modern games, as far as I'm aware, outside of the birthday thing, don't really do anything like this. And it's really a damn shame, because there's so much that Pokemon could do. And I think a lot of us are harsh on Pokemon, especially modern Pokemon, because we know that it can do better. I honestly went back to Sword and Shield, and I even saw Sword and Shield on a Twitch stream recently, and I was like, good God, this game is a lot better than Scarlet and Violet. As somebody that played both Scarlet and Violet and really enjoyed myself with them, I really do feel that we are just at a point with Pokemon where stuff like this is ultimately where it's at, and that's going to capture people's attentions. The modern games just aren't able to keep up. And I see someone in chat who's playing their Pokemon Blue on their Game Boy right now. You absolute legend. I have Pokemon Red, my SP over there. This is right up my alley, and I absolutely love this creator for bringing these up. It's taking me just right down memory lane.
Diamond Dust appears in Pokemon Black and White and Pokemon Black and White 2 as well on New Year's Eve. Now, while Team Rocket don't appear in the 5th generation, you could still find an ex-Team Rocket member in Unova.
Yes.
He lives in Icarus City, and
yeah, I know this guy. Yeah.
isn't wearing the signature Team Rocket Grunt uniform, but it's implied that the same guy is the same Team Rocket Grunt who robbed that one house in Cerulean City, and he moved to Unova to abandon his life of crime. In Black 2 and White 2, you can also find a former Team Aqua member and a former Team Magma member that are living together. The woman mentions how she was part of a group that wanted to cover the world in water, and
Do you know how cool this is, chat? I just need to take a second. So when people say, well, Kip, why do you like Pokemon? Why do you still continue to play Pokemon? Why do you support it? If you don't like it, why are you still continuing to talk about it? Do you know how cool this is? Just having this interconnected story. Realistically, Pokemon Gen 1, so Gen 1 and Gen 2 are its self-contained story, but it's like Gen 1 through Gen 5 are its own consecutive storyline. Then you get into Gen 6, which is the Ultimate Weapon. That has its alternate universe arc. And, we see that with the Delta, excuse me, I was about to say Deoxys, the Delta episode in Oraz. Like, it's wild to just see this, right? Because think about it, you're growing up, right? And you grow up in maybe Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue, or like me, your intro is Fire Red. I remember my dad going to Best Buy, and he bought me Pokemon Fire Red, and that was what I ended up playing for way too much time. I had, like, multiple hundreds of Elite Four players. It was great. And just to grow up with that, because even in Fire Red, right, the behind Cerulean City, this guy right here, the bald guy is this Rocket member, and then you go back and you play Emerald or you play Ruby and Sapphire, and you get to see the story of Team Aqua and Rocket, and then you just see them all being roomies in an entirely different region. It is so cool. And it's really sad to see the direction certain things in Pokemon have gone. We've had Dexit, right? Where I think, in my personal opinion and professional opinion, I think that Gen 7's Dex, the way that they handle it, where you had the national Dex, but if you wanted to use it in VGC and competitive, you could only use Alola Dex numbered Pokemon. So, for instance, say you want to have Sunflora, or like me, like I want Muck, right? Sunflora, I cannot use in competitive play. VGC play, because it's not in the Alola Dex format. It doesn't have an Alola Dex number. Well, we're using Sunflora as a hypothetical. It could, but you get what I'm saying, right? If it's not in the Alola Dex, you can't use it. Versus something like Muck. Oh, Lowland Muck, my beloved, you beautiful, beautiful rainbow tree piece of trash. I love you. And that's in the Alola deck. Sure, you can absolutely use it. But we're seeing no mechanics return. Like, we had Mega return for Let's Go, and I actually thought Let's Go was pretty cool for what it was. And we had Gigantamax Dynamax, which just fundamentally was an absolutely busted mechanic. There were situations that arose with Landorus at the time that it became uncounterable in certain interactions. And now we have Terrastalize. I think it is the most big brain mechanic that they have. I really think Terrastalization is, as far as it is, I didn't get to the DLC yet, as far as I have seen it, is an incredibly big brain mechanic. And I actually really love it. So it's really cool to go back and see interactions like this, because they don't happen that much anymore. There's still a Pokemon community. I'm not arguing that there isn't a Pokemon community. These are really old interactions that you have to dig for these. We're in a video about 24 secrets in every Pokemon game. You have to dig for these. And there are people like this creator, PaPaSea, who just bring this to your attention. And it's so cool. And think about how much in chat, I can absolutely see you just talking between, this game and this game, right? That is the Pokemon that a lot of us want. That is the Pokemon that a lot of us remember. And that's why a lot of us aren't content with the current state of Pokemon. But I digress. I've kind of railroaded off there a little bit.
The man says he was part of a group that wanted to make more land. They both say not to tell their partner their secrets, even though they're standing right next to you. Another couple...
So, good point in chat. You say exploring Scarlet Violet was hollow, but the entirety of Sword Shield felt hollow. I have a buddy who actually mentions that as soon as you get to the city with the mushrooms, after that point specifically, the game felt pretty linear and hollow. What I can say at minimum about Sword and Shield is it runs great. It runs a lot better. I've tried running VGC, and this was like Season 1, Season 2 VGC for Scarlet Violet, and I got a headache. Just the frame, I don't know if it's the connectivity, I don't know if it's the engine, the frame rate just gives me a headache. It's the same thing when I played Bloodborne at 30 FPS. I'm trying my best. It gives me a headache. I would love to play more Pokemon. A lot of people I used to know that do play Pokemon haven't kind of dropped it for valid reasons.
What you can find in Pokemon Black 2 and White 2 are Curtis and Yancey. You find their lost cross transceiver in Nimbasa City, and along the way Curtis, or Yancey depending on which character you're playing as, will call you periodically. After 10 calls, you can return the cross transceiver to them, but then they will just call you on your own cross transceiver. You get called if you're standing on a specific tile in the game, and in some of these calls, they will offer to trade you Pokemon like Snorlax, Sableye, or Rowlet that you can trade for any Pokemon that you have. There's 12 total Pokemon that can be traded to you from Curtis and Yancey, although unlocking all 12 is rather tedious, and I don't think many people out there ever got all 12 trades from them. Pokemon X and Y has an infamous item called the Strange Souvenir. It's given to
Yes. Oh my god. This was actually, people looked back on this and were like, oh my god. It predicted Gen 7. It predicted Alola. It's so cool. I mean, you see it even in modernity. There's still some cool things like that.
By an NPC in the hotel who hints that it's from another region far away. He doesn't say where it's from, but the item appears again in Pokemon Sun and Moon with an updated description saying, an ornament depicting a mysterious Pokemon that has been venerated as a guardian deity for an extremely long time in the Alola region.
It's so good.
Showing that even way back in X and Y, they already had some plans for Sun and Moon. While they did do a pretty good job for planning ahead for Sun and Moon with the Strange Souvenir, they didn't seem to plan ahead when they added AZ's Floette into Pokemon X and Y. AZ doesn't even use one of his own Floettes when you battle him, but AZ's Floette still exists in the game files as
I think this was unobtainable outside of generating it, I thought.
A Pokemon with different stats than regular Floette, can't evolve, and is unobtainable. This could suggest that it was originally planned for AZ to have one on his team when you battle him, or even for the player to be able to obtain one, but that was never the case.
No.
It even exists in the game files for future Pokemon games too, which could just be leftover data. But seeing as we never got to see the full story to Pokemon X and Y, I can't help but wonder if there was more in store planned for AZ's Floette.
That'd be very
in
interesting.
Anastar City, there is a man who asks you for a low-level Pokemon to keep him company. This seems rather innocent, but if you give him a Pokemon, then return to him after defeating the Elite Four, you will see a Pokeball containing the Pokemon on the ground, with a note implying that the man passed away. It's such a
That's brutal. That's so good, though.
random and sad event that not too many people know about. Something similar happens in Generation 7 if you go to the Hawali Cemetery in Alola at night in Sun and Moon. Here you can see a woman with her Machamp in front of a grave. She says how she comes here to pay respects to her husband who passed away while with his Machamp. The Machamp survived and now refuses to stay inside of its own Pokeball because it thinks it could have saved his trainer if it wasn't stuck in the Pokeball. On a much lighter note, there's a cool secret in Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee located on the docks near Vermilion City. You can actually—
Is this— Oh, wait. Could you get to the truck?
find a truck here similar to the classic and iconic truck in the Generation 1 Pokemon games.
The truck that everybody said that Mew was under. Oh god, I do love this.
That appears off screen next to the SS Anne. The truck spawned many rumors about Mew when in reality it was just a random truck here placed here for no real reason. And this truck in Let's Go is similar as you wouldn't normally see it unless you go out of your way to find it, and it also serves no real purpose. It would have been neat if they let
It's just an Easter egg at that point.
you catch Mew here or something, but instead to get Mew in Let's Go you have to buy this thing. For Generation 8, did you know that in Sword and Shield the Joy-Cons in your room will match the Joy-Cons on your actual Switch that you're using to play?
I actually never noticed features like this because I use the red and blue. I'm very curious if I go back with my new, because I got the Tears of the Kingdom OLED, right? Yeah, Tears of the Kingdom. I had to think about that. I was said Breath of the Wild. Anyways, I'm curious what these will turn into. I'm pretty sure that they're just going to be gray.
A Sword and Shield. This one seems pretty well known by now, but have you ever noticed that in Motostoke, the fire department has this funny logo with an artillery on it? You can also find the statue across the Galar region, which might look familiar to—
Wait a minute. Those look very reminiscent of, in the Indigo League, those look very reminiscent of Ash's posters. Obviously, they're different Pokemon, but they look very reminiscent of the style.
Since it's the same statue of Krogunk, which appears on the counters of the Pokemon art in Diamond and Pearl.
That's awesome.
You can find the same Krogunk statue in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and a lot of the secrets in these games are carried over from the original Diamond and Pearl game.
I actually never noticed this. This is so cool.
Except there were a few changes with some of the books in the Kanalave City Library.
We're talking about that book, chat? You know what book I'm talking about.
One book mentions how there was a Quillfish with huge spikes, which was a hint towards Hisuian Quillfish and its evolution over Quill, which has huge spikes.
Full disclosure, I've never finished Arceus. Maybe I should stream it. Never actually finished it, so I'm actually missing a lot of those Pokemon.
We, of course, got Legends Arceus released only a couple of months after Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and much like the Strange Souvenir, this was a nice little hint towards the next Pokemon game. Then finally, for the current generation, Generation 9, the only games we have for it so far are Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. There really aren't too many secrets in these ones, as many of them are pretty obvious, like the Generation 1 pixel art sprites you can find in Alpharnauta Town.
Those were cool. I saw those and I was like, hold up, it was such a throwback to see.
Just by walking around. But there is also a secret Galarian Meow that you can get from the language professor after completing all of his classes and helping him rescue this injured Palmy.
I've never done that. Even in video games, Kip totally cut class. I'm such a Jade Yuki trope, it's not even funny.
I don't think many people know about this one, so if you really want a Galarian Meowth in your game, you can now get one. You can also find this cute picture of a young Arven with his Mastiff before it evolved into a Mabostiff in the professor's lab in Area 0.
Interesting.
Other than that, there really isn't too much else for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, but maybe the DLCs will change that and add some more cool secrets for us to look at. We still have some time before the DLC releases though, so in the meantime, consider leaving a like to support the channel, subscribe for more Pokemon videos, and becoming a YouTube channel member if you want to support the channel a little bit more. Thank you all so much for watching, have a great rest of your day, and bye-bye.
This was excellent. This was awesome. I honestly absolutely loved this video. This video was very well edited. There were usually, right, people can hit the low-hanging fruit and people will just be like, oh, well, this thing that people have heard time and time again. And, oh, well, you know, have you considered Mirage Island? There were actually things in here that I didn't know about. The PC one was absolute with the cameras in Gen 2. I wasn't aware of that one. So that was excellent. That was perfect. PaPaSea, I can see him going 500K and above. You know, if you like this video, I absolutely do recommend that you go check out their channel. This was awesome, and I really can't wait to see what else they have in store. Like right here, PaPaSea, 1 hour of Pokemon facts. and they really know their stuff, whether they researched this beforehand, whether they've lived it like I have, whether they have intimate knowledge of it, you know, like I have in certain aspects, right, in terms of competitive and stuff. This was an amazing video, and thank you for making this, PaPaSea. That was absolutely awesome. And please, if you did like it, go check that out. And I can't recommend this enough. Thank you. I really appreciate this video. And everyone else, I will see you in the next one.